Welcome to the Fantasy Football Units podcast. I am your host, Alex Bruno, here with Jordan Hudson. How are you doing, Jordan?
I'm doing really good, man. I'm glad that the NFL's back. I'm glad fantasy's back. I couldn't be any happier right now.
Yeah, and in times like now, football is definitely something to look forward to. I just could not stop smiling watching the game last night.
No, not everybody's got a lot to look forward to out there right now with the pandemic going on and with the NFL being back. It's a little bit of relief to be able to sit at home and watch the game.
All right, and today's episode for you guys, we have a mini recap of Thursday night's game between the Houston Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. But first, let's jump into some news. We have Kenny Golladay ruled doubtful for Sunday's game. How are you feeling about that?
A little mixed feelings because I did have him in a few leagues, but the leagues that I have Marvin Jones in, I'm really happy. I don't have Hawkinson in any leagues, but I'm sure people that have him are excited. Definitely be looking towards your waiver wires for Amendola.
Yeah, he'll definitely get some good targets with Kenny Golladay being out.
Especially if you're in PPR.
Oh, yeah. And also with Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift, they're definitely going to get some more targets that they probably weren't going to get if Golladay was playing. Also, if Adrian Peterson, they decided to throw in there.
How do you think those targets are going to get separated? Distributed, sorry.
Well, Kenny Golladay was probably going to get...
at least 10.
Yeah, at least 10 to 11. Probably get a couple more for Marvin Jones, a couple more for Hawkinson, so that's 4 or 5.
How many you see going to that backfield, though? Maybe 3 of them?
Yeah, 2 or 3 each, possibly to Swift
and then
Johnson.
2 to Hawkinson and 2 to Jones. Okay,
yeah,
I can see that.
Amendola will get whatever's left.
He'll get the scraps.
Yeah, pretty much.
What other news you got for us?
Next we have Mike Evans is ruled day-to-day with his injury and will become a game-time decision on Sunday.
Yeah, he's a game-time decision as of right now, so you guys that got Chris Godwin, slam him into your starting lineups.
Yeah, and as far as that backfield, no one really knows what they're going to do.
I have no opinion on that backfield till week 4.
Yeah, and, if Mike Evans is ruled out, they do have another receiver in Scott Miller. I know not many people are aware of who he even is. I don't believe he was...
He real fast, guys.
Yeah, he ran a 4... He wasn't at the combine, but he ran a 4.2 at his pro day, and that's an official time. It wasn't
was it a 4.20 or like...
No, it was like a 4.27, I believe.
Okay.
So
not far from John Brown.
But the kid's fast. I think they were going to use him as returner anyways, kick and punt returner. But he's definitely a good slot option for them to have with Mike Evans if he's not playing.
And don't forget about Gronkowski and O.J. Howard.
Mm-hmm.
I think O.J. Howard will definitely see some of those targets that Evans would have got.
Yeah, it's not going to be the O.J. Howard of week 1 last year.
No. Well.
All right, moving on. We have Courtland Sutton, who is continuing to not practice again today and is also a day-to-day decision. So what do you think that means for those Jerry Jeudy owners out there?
If you had any doubt about putting him in your starting lineup week 1, you have no doubt now.
Right.
I think that helps the fan owners as well.
Mm-hmm.
It scares me a little bit for the Drew Lock owners. Mm-hmm. If you could elaborate on that for the fans at home for us.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to have that many targets to throw to now with Sutton being out. Maybe he throws a little more to Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay, but I don't really know. They might have to run the ball some more, and Drew Lock's not much of a runner, so he's not going to be involved in that really. But as far as, him having weapons to throw to, Courtland Sutton really,
besides Jerry Jeudy and Fant, those were his biggest weapons.
It really thins it out for his options, so he's definitely going to, have to pull something out of nowhere to get going on that offense.
Yeah, he's going to pull a rabbit out of his hat for sure.
Yeah. All right. And so moving on with the recap.
Oh, that wraps up all our news?
That wraps up with the news.
Okay.
Not much going on right now. I'm sure there will be more.
Yeah, it has been quiet the past few days.
Yeah, with the season coming up, I don't see much signings going on with the game, with a lot of teams game 1.
No, not till Monday or Tuesday of next week.
So with the recap, we have the Chiefs coming off yet another impressive game, winning 34-20 over the Houston Texans. What was your, most anticipated, or what were you most excited to watch about that game?
My favorite player to watch for that game was definitely Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Mm-hmm.
I've wanted to see what he was going to do with that Andy Reid offense since they drafted him. So that was definitely my favorite.
Right. Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire definitely, showed out to be the stud that they risked drafting in that first round. I wouldn't say a risk, but, he proved to show why he was drafted in the first round
Oh,
by the
yeah. I
Super
mean,
Bowl winning
25
Chiefs.
carries for 138 yards and a touchdown. I mean, he was targeted twice. The first target, Mahomes, like, threw it behind him. And then the second target, he just kind of set him up to get hit.
Yeah, that was
But
crucial.
other than that, I mean, the man was running for almost 7, 8 yards carry every time they gave him the ball.
Right. Yeah, no,
And
the
like the
Chiefs,
counter play that he scored on, that 27-yard touchdown, that was beautiful.
yeah, they definitely should have did that a lot more than just running him between the guard and tackle. He didn't look too bad though.
No, I mean, we both noted that. We saw so many different opportunities if they would have just ran the counter instead of trying to run, because they run a lot of zone.
Yeah.
And if they would have just ran that counter a few more times, I mean, he would have had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot more of that going on down the road. Andy Reid's a smart coach, so he'll
Figure
definitely
that out.
adjust. It was probably just easing him into the process of the offense with.
Oh, you know he's in the film room as we're recording right now.
Oh yeah, definitely. But yeah, he'll probably get more targets next game. They didn't seem to use Darrell Williams towards the end there. They looked towards Clyde Edwards. So I believe, after like maybe for week 3 or week 4, after that, it's going to be the Clyde Edwards-Helaire show.
I think it's be more closer to week 6. I think they're going to still let Darrell Williams get some of the targets and ease Clyde Edwards-Helaire into the receiving role. But by week 6, this will be the Clyde Edwards-Helaire show.
Yeah. All right. What'd you think about Patrick Mahomes?
Before we break into Mahomes, let's talk about the Houston running backs real quick.
The Houston running backs, David Johnson and Duke Johnson.
Yeah, it was looking like a 60-40 split there until old Dookie got hurt in the third.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
Maybe closer 70-30?
Yeah, 70-30 because Duke Johnson was in there, but he wasn't getting the carries. Like,
Not quite, no.
No, he was more blocking or just running out on a route, taking a linebacker out of the picture.
And he was getting some good blocks in last
Yeah,
night, guys.
he was protecting Watson very well. But David Johnson, after Duke Johnson got hurt, he did take over. He did finish the game with 11 carries with 77 yards and a touchdown.
That's 7 yards a carry. Holy crap.
Yeah, he hasn't done that
Since 2016.
Yeah, so he's looking impressive so far. He went 3 for 4 on receptions with the targets he was given, 32 yards. So
Just over 10 reception.
yeah, so he was looking decent. He's definitely some trade value now if you're looking to get something better out of him, and
Especially if you can afford to hold on to him for one more week
yeah,
and he goes off again.
And if you find a team that needs a running back, and they'll take him and they'll give you, a Tyler Boyd or something like that for him.
Especially that somebody drafted wide receiver
Yeah,
heavy and
exactly.
has no good running back one.
Exactly. But I mean, yeah, I would say it was a 70-30 share because Duke Johnson only had 5 carries and he only was targeted once, I want to say, in the game.
Honestly, I can't remember.
So I do think that as the season goes on, David Johnson, it's just going to be his show because they do have him for a year.
Okay. Well, let's get back talking about Mahomes like you wanted to.
Yeah, Mahomes, he was looking like the electric player that he is. He did have a couple sloppy plays where,
He should have got intercepted 3 times last night.
Yeah, but I mean, it is only week 1. He's going to fix that. That's been proven. He went 24 for 32 with 211 yards and 3 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. I mean, so that is Mahomes-esque type play.
And it was week 1, guys.
Yeah. There's really nothing to worry about with that offense. They did look somewhat unstoppable against Houston's defense.
Houston's defense came on in there in the third quarter. They definitely stepped up a couple 3-and-outs.
Yeah.
A couple forced punts.
Yeah, and with having no preseason or anything like that,
And a very, very shortened training camp.
yeah, both defenses actually look pretty decent as far as that outcome.
I was really surprised at the lack of penalty flags for
Yeah.
week 1 in the rain.
Right.
With no practice, with no preseason.
And everything else that's been going on.
I mean, I know there wasn't 10 flags. I don't think there was more than 8 flags for the whole game.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember, but I do remember that it wasn't a lot.
Like it was a very, very clean game.
And it was. It was very fun to watch. But that Chiefs offense was looking quite unstoppable for a minute there. You had players like Sammy Watkins who finished 7 for 9 with 82 yards and a touchdown.
I mean, he looked just like he did in the playoffs. I mean,
Yeah.
he was one of the he was their playoff MVP besides Mahomes, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I mean, I wouldn't jump into starting him right away.
No, give it a few more weeks.
Yeah.
Make sure it's not like week one. Like, let's make sure that he's carrying off from the playoffs from last year, or carrying over the playoffs from last year.
Yeah, you don't want it to be like last season where he was showing out 3 touchdowns a game in the first week, and then all of a sudden he just disappears until the playoffs come.
I mean, to me, I don't think that's possible again because he had over 100 targets from Mahomes, and those are quality targets. Mahomes
Right.
does not throw uncatchable balls. This is not Kyle Allen throwing him the ball where only 34% are catchable.
Right.
I think like he has to have positive regression getting 100 targets from Mahomes. He might not get 70 catches, but he might get 55, and he might get that touchdown total up to 6.
Yeah, that touchdown total is going to have to go up if he's going to be fantasy relevant for some people's rosters.
Especially when you've got Kelsey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and Tyreek Hill on the field.
Yeah, because Tyreek Hill went 5 for 6 with 46 yards and a touchdown last night. I mean, he wasn't, the Tyreek Hill that we're used to seeing, but he definitely got the job done.
Oh yeah, I mean, I had him as my wide receiver too in a league that I got Michael Thomas.
Yeah.
So I'm totally happy with that.
Yeah, with the
Because
amount
I know next week he could get me 42 points.
Yeah, exactly. With the amount of weapons that Mahomes is given, it's kind of hard to predict what each person's going to do each week. I mean, you had your Kelsey that went 6 for 6 with 50 yards and a touchdown, but you also had McCole Hardman, who only had 1 target the whole game. So, I mean, it goes back and forth.
I mean, he was kind of Casper out there,
Yeah, but I mean, it's with this Chiefs offense, I feel like it's going to go back and forth with these players. 1 week it's going to be Tyreek Hill, 1 week it's going to be Kelsey, 1 week it may be Watkins, 1 week maybe Robinson, something like that.
Just keep your eyes on that out for that unit, gang. I mean, it's only week 1. That's not a sample size. It's just week 1.
Right. Yeah, and that's really all you could take from it was that it was a sample size for the rest of the season.
Any receivers you want to talk about on the other end of the spectrum?
Yeah, I mean, there was the number 1 receiver for the Houston Texans, which was
Will Fuller.
Yeah, Will Fuller. He did look, somewhat impressive.
His route running, I mean, if you guys remember, like, he pretty much only runs the 9 route when Hopkins was out on the field, but the man was looking really good for his route tree last night.
Yeah, I mean, he went 8 for 10 on receptions with 112 yards. He didn't get a touchdown, but I mean, as far as having him in your PPR league, he got you 19 half PPR. He got you 15?
Yeah, and half point. I mean, and he's most likely your anywhere from your wide receiver 4 to 6, depending on how you drafted. So
right,
if you're getting 15 points and a half point PPR from that, and you're not happy, you're playing the wrong sport.
Right, and with him being the number 1 target for Houston.
It wasn't even close.
Yeah, it wasn't because it looked a lot like they were trying to still ease in Brandon Cooks and Randall Cobb into the offense. I mean, Brandon Cooks had 2 targets, 3 targets.
I think he had 4,
or
and
something
then
like
Cobb
that.
had 2 or 3.
Yeah, so they weren't really, utilized that much in the game. David Johnson, I mean, got more targets than some of the receivers there.
Oh, yeah.
And you still had Fells and Akins. So Deshaun Watson has more rapport with those 2 than he does with Cooks and Cobb. So I think as the season goes on, they'll probably get more targets.
And we won't see such a heavy time of possession for the opposite team. Like Houston will have a higher time of possession, so you will see more targets.
Yeah, no, they weren't in charge of the clock management at all that game. So it was kind of hard to see what they had to offer sometimes because they did have to go out there and try to hurry up down the field.
Oh, yeah. Because, I mean, they were playing from behind ever since the beginning of the game.
Yeah, I mean, they did look, good at the beginning of the game. They scored the first touchdown, but after that, Patrick Mahomes just ran away with the game.
He just took over.
Yeah, and, Deshaun Watson didn't really perform until the fourth quarter in garbage time after he threw an interception. So, I mean...
That the rookie Snead caught, by the way. We're going to have to get into that kid.
Yeah. But as far as Deshaun Watson, he did look like himself at the end of the game. He was evading defensive rushers, just showing what he can do, making them miss tackles. There was probably a few times he should have got sacked, and he was bouncing off of them, running for the first down, trying to find that. He was
looking like Russell Wilson out there running away from him.
Yeah, so as far as that, it's just more of his receivers have to get open.
Yeah, none of them were getting open when he was doing that.
So it'll get better. don't panic if you have Deshaun Watson. I know he was showing that he not that much throughout the whole game. I think like 3 points at the most for your fantasy league.
Until the fourth quarter.
Yeah, until the fourth quarter, he scored he scored 2 touchdowns, I want to say.
Yeah, one on the ground and then one through the air.
Yeah, he had 253 yards also. He did throw an interception, but he was throwing it as he got hit, so you can't really tell what went on right there. But
it was a week 1 mistake.
Yeah, no need to panic, guys. Deshaun Watson is Deshaun Watson. They paid that man.
Again, if you're panicking week 1, guys, you really need to choose a different sport because week 1's the scariest, and then after that, it's all gravy from here.
Yeah, after that, it's more of you just know who to trade, know who to pick up on your waiver wire, and
you know who's going to get the targets. Yeah. Just give it a couple weeks, guys.
Exactly.
Break it up into sections of the year.
Yeah, exactly. So do you want to elaborate more on that rookie?
Oh, Snead. Oh, man, this kid out of Louisiana Tech. Deshaun Watson and the Houston offensive coordinator were trying to pick on him in the first half, and he just ended up picking on them, honestly.
Right.
I saw him break up a couple passes. He had the interception in the fourth quarter. That kid's going to be something.
Right.
Those DBs that come out of Louisiana, whether it's Louisiana Tech, Louisiana A&M, LSU, they just breed different monsters down there, man.
Right, and he wasn't even meant to be the starter.
No, he wasn't. I know.
The guy that was supposed to be the starter went down, I think, earlier in the week, so they had to put him out of the game, and he showed up and showed out. And, once they get Breland back from his suspension and this other guy from the injuries, that defensive back unit is with Tyrann Mathieu already. He was shutting down that Houston offense.
He was looking like the honey badger of forever.
Yeah, so that defense is going to get
scarier.
He
came from Louisiana too, guys.
Yeah, so
Louisiana State though, not Louisiana Tech.
So the Kansas City Chiefs are just looking like they're just
rolling
into the season
repeat.
Coming from that Super Bowl victory. It's going to be scary to watch teams play against the Chiefs this year.
They're the '94 Chicago Bulls.
Yeah, they're just unstoppable. It seems like.
Do we got any other players we need to talk about? That tight end core wasn't looking too bad for Houston.
For Akins and Fells?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they would have did a little more. They weren't targeted that much. I don't say. I mean, Akins did have a touchdown, but I think he only was targeted 2 or 3 times throughout the game.
I think it's more because they were down pretty much the whole game. Had it been a closer game, I think both of them would have saw at least 2 or 3 more targets each.
Right.
But the targets that they did see, they did stuff with.
Right. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
Let's see. No, I mean I'm pretty satisfied. If there's anything you think we guys missed, just let us know in the reviews and stuff.
Yeah, or you guys can hit us up on Twitter and Instagram. Our Twitter is @FantasyUnits and our Instagram is @TheFantasyFootballUnits. Ask us any start-sit questions you guys have. We'll be more than happy to answer them for you. Anything going out for you, Jordan?
This is gonna be our first episode up on YouTube, guys. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Leave us comments, and we will respond back. We do like to interact with all you unit gang out there. And other than that, I think that pretty much wraps it up for me, Bruno.
And also, we have another full-length episode coming out tomorrow. We will let you guys know on our social media when we actually put it out at a certain time. Other than that, have a good night, unit gang.
Good night, guys.